2-month trial with 34 witnesses and hours of salacious testimony, a jury of 8 men and 4 women fined Sean Diddy Combs not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. The judge is currently deciding right now whether Combs will actually be released today. His defense arguing that since the music mogul was acquitted of the most serious crimes, he should be able to go home. Once court was adjourned, family members cheered today's verdict. Combs' son, Christian, telling ABC News how happy he is.
Hey, we love y'all. We love everybody watching. So happy. Pop's coming home. God bless. God bless the whole world.
What was going through your head when the verdict was read? Happy.
Joining me now, Irina Roy, just outside court, legal contributor Bernardo Villalona, and also senior entertainment reporter Kelly Carter. All right, Rena, do we have any update on whether the judge will decide to release Combs at this hour?
Kira, no decision quite yet from the judge. Just a couple of minutes ago, though, I can tell you we saw the Combs family van pull up to court once again, presumably to hear this decision on whether or not Combs will be released. The deadline that the judge gave both the prosecution and the defense just passed a couple of minutes ago. They were set to turn in their letters at 1 p.m. So for the last couple of hours, they've been working on their cases, both sides, for and against his release. The defense wants to see Combs walk out of those golden doors here behind us. They say that because he was acquitted of the more serious charges here, that he should go home and be with his family. The prosecutors have argued that he's a flight risk, and they say that he is still facing up to 20 years in prison on these lesser charges. They are arguing he should be held until his sentencing, Kira.
So, Bernarda, if Combs does stay in custody, how much jail time do you expect he would actually serve?
So in terms of if the judge does decide that Sean Combs remains in custody pending sentencing, the judge will ultimately determine what his sentence is. You have to think that the sentencing is not going to take place in another week or two. We're talking about months from now that the sentence will take place. And in terms of all the time that he's already been in custody, he's going to get credit for that time. So no matter what amount of sentence the judge sentences him to, he'll get credit for about the 9 months that he has been in custody. Yes, he faces a maximum of 10 years on each of those counts. Highly unlikely that this judge is going to max Sean Combs out. He can give him probation, he could give him time served, or give him something more of a year, 2 years, or even 3 years on each of these counts.
So, Kelly, how does this verdict impact Combs' legacy as an entertainer, as a music mogul moving forward, you think?
I think it does impact his legacy because we have to talk about this in addition to talking about his 3 decades as being a pop culture icon. You know, this is a human who has touched every facet of business, of industry, you know, politics, film, TV, music, Broadway, spirits, fashion, you know, but we also now have to talk about this case and the role that that plays and that legacy. And I think it's significant because unfortunately people are going to be able to unhear some of that testimony that they read, and they're most certainly going to be able to unsee that video footage from that 2016 Intercontinental incident between him and Cassie Ventura. And I think that that's going to be part of the conversation moving forward.
All right, I'm your host, Ace, and this is Ace.HonestTakes, and we just went over and heard these ladies talk about Diddy possibly coming home soon, right? Sooner than later. And he has been acquitted of some of the more major instances that they just talked about, and also just kind of some of the smaller ones that he actually was guilty of, right? So I don't think that he's out of the woods just yet. I do think that, you know, the judge could possibly give him 20 years, which would be the max, right? Because he still has both of those other 2 verdicts. He could get 10 years for one, and then he could also get 10 years for the other one. Now, if the judge wanted to run them concurrent, that just would be 10 years total. However, if the judge wanted him to run one for 10 and then the other one for 10 as well, and don't run them concurrent, right, then that's how you could equal 20 years. I don't think he's going to get 20 years. But going to what they say, you know, if Diddy did come home, let's just say tomorrow or the next day, right, I think people will kind of stay away for probably, 6 months, a year tops, I think. But as long as he got money, as long as he got power, as long as he has things that can help other people possibly. People don't care. Let's just keep it a stack. Let's keep it a bill, right? People don't care. As long as you can do stuff for people, they don't care. They really would not care a little bit, I feel like, right? And you always going to have people that still kind of played the back, that wanted to possibly see what happens, what the outcome was with Diddy. Now, they might not have been on the forefront, but on the backside, pause, no Diddy, right? On the backside, they possibly wanted to kind of see how this played out first before they kind of start talking about Diddy and moving on, possibly working with him in the future and everything else, right? So, I mean, I think the only thing that came out of this was embarrassment, not only for him, but for Cassie as well. And just kind of, all the things that she had to talk about and relive throughout this ordeal herself. And just kind of, people urinating on her, and Diddy having all these guys do all these things to her. Now she has a husband. Who knows how that's going to turn out for her as well, right? So a lot of things came out of this trial. But at the same time, we'll see. So, he's not going to be tried as of right now as far as the judge. We're just waiting on the judge to figure out what they want to do as far as his sentencing. So let's keep going.
And Rena, has there been any reaction from prosecutors or witnesses so far on the verdict?
Yeah, well, Kara, prosecutors say that they are going to fight for substantial prison time for Sean Combs. It remains to be seen what that looks like, but they did release a statement earlier today thanking the alleged victims in this case for coming forward, saying it's not easy to share those harrowing stories. And we know that the prosecution's star witness was Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. Her attorney spoke outside of court shortly after the verdict, and he says that he's proud of her courage. He says that she is in a good place and she's happy with this outcome. Take a listen.
The reaction is that we're pleased that he's finally been held responsible for 2 federal crimes, something that he's never faced in his life. He still faces substantial jail time. Of course, we would have liked to have seen a conviction on the sex crimes in RICO, but we understand beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard, and we're just pleased that he still faces substantial jail time.
And he also credits her for paving the way for other alleged victims to come forward. Remember, Combs is still facing more than 6 civil lawsuits, so his legal troubles are far from over, Kira.
Civil lawsuits, I mean, of course, he's a quote-unquote billionaire, right? And, civil lawsuits are a lot more just strictly about the money. They don't care about you going to jail. That's just the money side of everything, right? I think if you told him right now, hey, you got to pay X amount of dollars or you can go home, I think he would pay the X amount of dollars to go home. You know what I'm saying? So also, like I said, please like, comment, subscribe. Put in the comments exactly what your thoughts are. How do you feel about Diddy possibly coming home sooner rather than later? Like I said, they still haven't, said what his actual verdict has been as far as, how much time he would possibly spend, even if he would spend any, or he could just get probation moving forward, right? So put in the comments exactly what you think.
And we'll be following him as well, of course. Bernarda, what impact do you think this verdict will have now on future cases similar to Combs?
So in terms of what impact this verdict will have on future cases, I think the prosecution has to rethink how it applies racketeering conspiracy, because first off, when racketeering RICO came out, it was more for mob bosses or gang activity to try to get an enterprise, hold them accountable and not let individuals get off simply because they're not being taken into account with co-conspirators or using their businesses in order to uplift their enterprise, their criminal enterprise. But I think the prosecution is definitely going to take another look of how it's being applied, racketeering conspiracy.
All right, Rena, Bernarda, Kelly, thank you all so much. And tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, ABC will release a 1-hour special that will explore the highly anticipated verdict in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Be sure to tune in tonight or stream the next day on Hulu.
All right, hey, please put in the comments exactly what your thoughts are. I think he's probably going to get, let's just say, 2 years and probably 5 years of probation or something like that. I don't think it's going to be nothing super crazy, but like I said, it could be 20 years. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But you never want to be in that position to where, someone else is determined. So, once again, I'm your host Ace, and this is Ace Honest Takes. Thank you guys for checking out. Please comment, subscribe, and like this video. And once again, I'm your host. Peace.